I knew something was wrong the moment I smelled her perfume on the jacket that wasn't mine. It was a Thursday night. Ordinary by all accounts. Emily came home later than usual, her cheeks flushed, her hair slightly disheveled, and that soft floral scent lingering in the air like a ghost I couldn't ignore. 13 years of marriage had taught me to recognize the smallest cracks in her mask, and that night, there was a canyon forming. "Long day?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even as she hung her coat. "Yeah, meetings ran over." "You know how it is," she said, not quite looking me in the eyes. I nodded, pretending to focus on the TV. But my hands felt cold, and my chest tightened as the familiar spiral of doubt began its descent. Meetings didn't leave lipstick smudges half-wiped from a coffee cup in her car. Meetings didn't make her text with her phone tilted away from me for the past month. Something had shifted between us lately. The morning kisses had become pecks on the cheek. The laughter during late-night kitchen talks had faded to polite nods. And her phone, once a shared device for scrolling memes in bed, had become a fortress. The real fracture began 2 weeks earlier, though I didn't know it then. Emily started going to yoga classes twice a week, claiming it helped with her back pain from long hours at the office. I believed her because you believe the woman you built a life with. You believe the mother of your 2 kids, the one who stood beside you when your father passed, the one who knew your fears, your flaws, and still said yes. But the lies are always quiet at first. Friday evening, while she was out at yoga, I found her iPad on the kitchen counter. It was unlocked, a rare lapse. I didn't mean to snoop. I really didn't. I just wanted to check the weather for the weekend, see if we could take the kids hiking. But a notification popped up. "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was perfect. Mark." My stomach dropped. The world around me blurred. I opened the message thread, hands shaking. There were weeks of texts. Innocent at first, then flirtatious, then explicit. Pictures. Dinner reservations. References to a wine bar downtown I didn't even know she liked. Mark. Her team lead from work. The man she once described as pushy, but harmless. That night, I didn't confront her. Couldn't. She came home smiling, kissed our daughter goodnight, and asked me how my day was. Answered. I even smiled back. But inside I was a volcano sealed with tape. Over the next few days, I became a ghost in my own home. Watching her pack her gym bag, I noted the lace bra she never wore for me anymore. Watching her type on her phone with her back turned, I memorized the rhythm of her thumbs. I needed proof not just for me but for my sanity. So the following Thursday I followed her. She didn't go to yoga. She didn't even drive toward the studio. Instead, she parked downtown, stepped out in that blue dress I'd once said made her eyes look like the ocean, and walked into a dim-lit Italian restaurant. Mark was already there. They hugged. Not politely, not casually. The kind of hug that lingers. I watched from across the street, my heart pounding against the windshield of my car. She laughed, head tilted, the way she used to with me when we first started dating. They ordered wine. They shared dessert from the same fork. By the time she left 2 hours later, my world was already ash. The confrontation came on Saturday morning. The kids were at their grandparents' for the weekend. Emily was making pancakes, humming some tune under her breath. It was almost obscene, this picture of domestic bliss built on a foundation of betrayal. I set the printouts on the counter. Screenshots, receipts, pictures from my phone. She froze, spatula midair. "What's this?" "You tell me," I said. My voice surprised even me. Calm, cold, steady. "Who's Mark?" The color drained from her face. He's just a friend. Friends don't send each other messages like that. I snapped, the volcano finally erupting. Friends don't sneak around for weeks, lying about yoga while their husband tucks the kids in and wonders why his wife smells like someone else's cologne. Tears welled in her eyes. "It was just dinner. It didn't mean." "Don't you dare," I said, my hands gripping the edge of the counter. "Don't you dare tell me it didn't mean anything. You planned it. You hid it. You betrayed me." For a moment, The kitchen was silent except for the soft sizzle of batter on the stove. Then she whispered, "I don't know what happened to us, Daniel. We've been distant. I felt invisible. And your solution was to make me disappear completely." Yes. My voice cracked on that last word. We talked, or rather we circled each other like wounded animals, for hours. She claimed it was just one date, a moment of weakness, that they'd been flirting at work for months, but it wasn't serious. But betrayal doesn't measure itself in bases touched or clothes removed. It lives in the choice to betray. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't beg. Instead, I packed a bag that evening and left. Not because I wanted to hurt her, though some part of me hoped she'd feel the emptiness I felt, but because I needed to breathe, to think. I stayed with a friend for a week. In that time, Emily sent long texts. Apologies, promises, memories of our early years like they were bargaining chips. She begged to explain, to talk in person. But every message felt like a band-aid over a bullet wound. When I finally returned, I had made my decision. We separated quietly. No screaming in front of the kids, no public shaming. Just the dull, relentless paperwork of a marriage unraveling. Emily paid the price in her own way. Not because I ruined her life, but because she watched it crumble in her hands. Her affair became known at work after whispers spread. Mark, the gallant savior, transferred to another branch, leaving her with both the scandal and the silence. She lost the version of me that trusted her without question. A year later, I ran into her at the grocery store. She looked older, not in a cruel way, but in that subtle, weary way people do when they've carried too much regret. We exchanged small talk by the apples. She asked about the kids. I told her they were doing well, that we'd found a rhythm in the new arrangement. Then, almost as an afterthought, she said, "I still think about that night. I wish I could undo it." He nodded. "I know. But we can't." People expect dramatic endings, shouted confessions, triumphant revenge, some cinematic moment where the betrayer begs on their knees. But the truth, betrayal rarely ends with fireworks. It ends with the quiet shifting of tectonic plates, the house that once stood becoming rubble, the people who once shared a bed becoming strangers with shared history. Emily didn't lose her job. She didn't go bankrupt. She wasn't publicly humiliated. Her price was much simpler and far more permanent. The slow, aching realization that she had burned the bridge to a life we built together. And me. I rebuilt, brick by brick, focused on the kids. I learned to cook for one. I went to therapy because love lost that violently leaves scars you can't see. Sometimes on cold nights, I still wonder if I could have forgiven her. If maybe, in another version of our story, we found our way back. But then I remember the perfume on that jacket. The wine glass with 2 sets of fingerprints. The way she looked at him across that table. Eyes shining like she used to look at me. And I know I made the only choice I could. Trust, once broken, doesn't scream as it dies. It whispers, until one day you wake up, and the person lying beside you feels like a stranger wearing your spouse's smile.